Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all had enjoyed the previous session along with our interview and also got a chance to squeeze in some networking time with our sponsors. So now our next session focuses on a trend that is here to stay, cloud kitchens. While they may be mushrooming across the region and rapidly, I may say, what needs to be focused on is the concept of hygiene here. Usually a restaurant, at least as an end consumer, I would judge a restaurant by how clean the front of house is. And if I know that if the front of house is clean, the kitchen must be at least just as clean, if not cleaner. But what about the cloud kitchen? How do they measure up in terms of hygiene? So we're going to hear about this and more from our panelists today. Let me introduce them. We have with us Ajay Jain. He is the country head Dubai for Rebel Foods. He is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur, and Ajay started his career with Unilever at Singapore, followed by ITC. He joined Rebel Foods in 2015 and is currently focusing on building a $100 million multi-brand cloud kitchen business from ground up in the Middle East. Ashish Tulsian is the co-founder and CEO of POSist. He founded POSist in 2012 with Sakshi Bhasin Tulsian and is the product visionary. He has scaled the company from a two-member team to 100 plus employees, serving over 9,000 plus leading restaurants in 30 countries. Under Ashish's leadership, POSist has emerged as a product of choice in India and expanded its reach in Singapore, USA, Mexico, UAE, and Thailand. And then we have with us George Thomas, the Vice President of Epsco. Mr. George Thomas joined the company in 1999 and has a double master's in economics and business administration. He has a rich experience of 30 years in various organizational functions. He is trained in the USA and certified as an ASCS and CVI. A certified asbestos inspector, he is also a lead auditor for ISO 9001, ISO 14001, and OHSAS 18001. He leads the Epsco team since 2009. And finally, we have with us Isha Sagar, the key accounts manager at Essity. Isha is deeply passionate about hygiene and helps companies secure their sanitary demands in order to help them persevere through these challenging times with deep segment insights and industry experience in professional hygiene. She leverages her expertise in the professional hygiene industry and with sanitation standards being even higher, she helps guide operators to guarantee a hygienic experience and communicate their efforts clearly to their guests. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being on our panel discussion today. I'm going to start with a very basic question. The rise of cloud kitchens in the region, the Middle East, especially the GCC region, you're talking about Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, and the UAE, is seeing a lot of cloud kitchens mushrooming. What is driving this, and what are your comments on it? I'm going to start with Ajay because, well, for obvious reasons. So Ajay, tell us a little more about this concept and why it's here.
Thank you. Thank you, Shanti. So the rise of cloud kitchens is primarily driven by the changing consumer habits. Even prior to the pandemic, which started last year, we were seeing, good signs of food delivery, online food delivery growing across the region. We launched our operations. Rebel Foods launched its operation in 2018 in the UAE. And right from the start, we were seeing growing signs, of food delivery. And what has happened after the pandemic has just accelerated the impact, just accelerated the shift in the consumer behavior. So, with work from home, a lot of the consumer missions are now being on the indulgent occasion for the weekends. So a lot of the consumers are now ordering food from restaurants. And if you consider the impact of the pandemic, there's a lot of, for an average consumer household, there are a lot of, there is a lot of extra disposable income. Think of all the vacations that, you didn't go to, think of all the concerts that you didn't go to, a lot of the shopping not done in the last 1 year. So food being one of the indulgent avenues. So we're seeing a significant consumer demand. This consumer demand is helping a lot of food aggregators like Zomato, Tarabat, Deliveroo, and then which is helping helping the rise of cloud kitchen companies. In the region, we have seen in the last 2 years, we have seen we have doubled our revenue. We have doubled our presence as well as doubled our revenue each kitchen. So I would say, this primary changing consumer behavior for a weekday consumer mission, for a lunch, for an indulgent weekend get together. So we are seeing a massive consumer demand, which is helping the rise of cloud kitchens, not just in the region. Rebel Foods is operating in 8 other countries, and we're witnessing like massive growth across all our countries.
Thank you, Ajay. Ashish, you provide technological support to such businesses. What is your experience, especially in the UAE region, because that's where you also operate in the Middle East? Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, Shanti, I think cloud kitchens are growing as a trend because, I mean, according to me, apart from what Ajay said, there are two more there are two phenomena which are suddenly becoming more powerful. Earlier restaurants used to be brands, so you used to go to a brand, you used to relate to a brand as serving good food, and then you used to consume anything that was coming out of that stable. So if they were doing a multi-cuisine, you were absolutely okay with that. And then there were, of course, brands which had legacy for a certain cuisine. With the cloud kitchens today, I think we are dealing with not the brands which are known for the food, but it is down to dishes. If you look at any aggregator today, right, they don't ask you whether you need Chinese, Mexican, Indian, Lebanese. They tell you biryani, they tell you chicken wings, burgers, pizzas, right? So it is all come down to dishes. What I see as a major trend, and that's where we are also becoming extremely relevant to cloud kitchen operators, is that suddenly everybody is trying to specialize on dishes and rolling out multiple brands from the same kitchen. On one side, one can believe that, okay, this is maximization of revenue, or maybe somebody is trying to operate at economy of scale from the same kitchen. That notion is more myth than reality. The fact is that you, and I'm sure Ajay will be able to relate to that for sure. You reach scale later. The real opportunity is that as an unknown person, or as somebody who was not known for a particular cuisine, with cloud kitchens now have an opportunity to actually start small, fail fast, fail easily. If it doesn't work, I can remove the brand from the digital distribution. I can just take it off Talabat or Deliveroo, and I can see that the trend which pre-pandemic started with people who did not want to invest, let's say, a lot of money, and who thought that cloud kitchen is going to be probably the cheaper way, to run a brand. It has, post-pandemic, it got accelerated to some of the largest restaurant operators in the world, who suddenly, I cannot name, but let's say one of the largest, companies that we power, right now, they used to have multiple brands in different geographies. And those brands were not really cross-pollinating, right? Because the money, the effort needed to bring one brand which was successful in one geography to the other one was too much, and failure could have been disastrous. But today, what they're doing is now they're setting up cloud kitchens. They're bringing all their brands from all their geographies to every geography. Because now they can fail, very quickly. They already know the cuisine. They already, have figured out so much. So I think the trend of cloud kitchen is picking up more, because of the speed of, execution. It is still costly, I would say. So it is still going through its own, curve of explosion. And I think it is going to contract. Eventually there's going to be a correction cycle. From the technology perspective, I think it has been a boon for us, in otherwise crazy COVID times when physical restaurants have been suffering badly. I think last year 50% plus business that we did was only through cloud kitchens, with existing as well as new customers across the world.
Thank you so much, Ashish. I'm moving the question to Mr. George and Isha. both of you are vendors, are solution providers in the cleaning industry. Mr. George Thomas, you are, the Vice President of Epsco, which is a service provider. You provide specialized cleaning services, and Isha represents Essity, which provides, cleaning solutions in terms of tissues and packaging. So tell me a little about what kind of demand you are seeing from the cloud kitchens that are now cropping up in the region. Mr. George, if you could start. Can you unmute yourself? You're on mute. Yes.
The number of cloud kitchens, especially in the region, it's not too many for us to consider this as very significant at the moment in terms of our operations, because we still cater to a lot of restaurants. We service a lot of restaurant chains. We have a lot of hotels. We have standalone restaurants. So they actually constitute majority of our customer base when it comes to the food service industry. Now, the challenges or the response that we are seeing from the cloud kitchens is because, as Ashish and Ajay said, the boom in cloud kitchen, which was initiated by pandemic. So what we see from the statistics is it's almost doubled in the last 2 years. So what has happened is when they are doubling, see the infrastructure itself, because the business, that COVID brought in a lot of restrictions. So even if I wanted to do something the way I wanted to do it, I'm not able to do it because there were restrictions. So creating the infrastructure itself was a challenge for a lot of these people who had to scale up their operations so quickly. So they hadn't planned doubling of this new business. So the business landscape, the way it changes so fast. So therefore, what we are seeing is they have challenges. For example, if I give you an example, the place where they occupy, these were originally not designed for cloud kitchens. So what happens is they are all repurposed, converted facilities. So suddenly when they're in operation, they realize that they've got a problem. Maybe it's with cooling, maybe it's with their grease traps, maybe it's with their kitchen exhaust system. So now the operations in cloud kitchens, unlike in the restaurants, they're continuous. They get very little break because the demand is huge and they want quick service. And that service is not just about your ordinary service. They want expertise. So expertise, when you talk about, sometimes it amounts to, consultancy. You have to understand their system. We have to do load calculations. We have to advise them that there is a problem with your capacity. There is a problem with your design. And these things, you cannot correct it in a very short span of time. You need time, and they may have to reset. So those are some of the challenges what the cloud kitchens have, and we as service provider we faced. We have an excellent brand equity, but suddenly we face the expectations from our customers is not something routine. So our own business landscape is getting changed through cloud kitchens, but fortunately the numbers are less. So we are able to cope up with the kind of services that we are providing, and we are working with quite a few of them at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. George. Isha, what kind of demands and challenges are you facing in the current atmosphere at Essity?
Hi, Shanti. Yes, some great points made by the panel. What we've seen globally as talk, where we work with multiple QSRs, restaurants traditionally now has shifted to cloud kitchens and off-premises dining. Now, off-premises dining as a whole concept leads to, like Mr. George says, new challenges. And some of these challenges are, how do we secure hygiene in this new operational setup? How do we rework the operations within these cloud kitchens, within their limited space or their redesigned space? And how do they communicate efficiently with their customers that they are maintaining a very hygienic kitchen environment? Because with this change in operations and change in structure, which we are seeing in cloud kitchens, we see hygiene standards and expectations have risen. So Essity and Talk did a survey and in 2020, 2021, and we found that 60% of consumers have a higher expectation of kitchen hygiene from cloud kitchens. Now, how do we communicate this efficiently has been one of the rising challenges, as well as maintaining an efficient workflow and having the right product stocked, and also encouraging staff like Ashish and Mr. Ajay said that it's a very fast-paced operations, not too much time, multiple brands to cater to. So having your kitchen employees adhere to good hand hygiene practices is also a very viable challenge. So these are a few challenges and that drives demand in this cloud kitchen industry. And yeah.
Thank you, Isha. A lot of pertinent points made by the entire panel, which leads me to the topic at hand, which is about hygiene in the food service industry. What are the challenges when it comes to maintaining optimum hygiene in cloud kitchens, number one, and what are the tools that you've been using to support this? Ajay, because you are the main cloud kitchen brand, I would like you to start answering that in terms of what are the hygiene challenges and what technologies and tools are you using or looking for your optimum hygiene in your cloud kitchens?
Sure. Thank you, Shanti. So, managing hygiene and cleanliness, cloud kitchen operation, as Ashish and Mr. George also mentioned. So we are working in very quicker time frame. So, one of our kitchens, for example, is doing like $100,000 a day. So which means that, in lunch, and most 80% of the demand is in the lunch and the dinner hours, which is basically your 12 to 3 and 7 to 10. So which means that, on an average, a cloud kitchen is doing about $100 an hour. So, when 15 to 20 brands are operating under one roof, they are using shared services like the prep area, the storage area, the walk-in chillers, the walk-in freezers, and the production line wherein all the food is getting cooked for different brands. So it's really challenging to maintain hygiene and cleanliness, and especially during the pandemic times. So the way we are doing it, we are obviously using technology to ensure hygiene and SOP adherence across all our brands and across all our cloud kitchens. For example, each of the cuisine stations are manned by CCTV audits, and we have a CCTV audit team, we call it, which is monitoring the situation of the kitchen 24/7, because the kitchen operations are 24/7. So this team is doing surprise audits for the kitchen teams to ensure that there is SOP adherence, the cuisine stations are properly maintained, as well as we are using AI and machine learning to ensure, for example, if a kitchen chef is not wearing the mask, if a kitchen chef is not wearing the head cap, so the system is linked to our internal dash, and then the kitchen automatically gets deactivated, which means that cuisine station will not be able to take further orders unless until the kitchen is and the cuisine station is properly maintained. So we are leveraging technology to ensure maximum safety, not just for our customers, but also for our kitchen chefs, also for our delivery executives. One very interesting dimension, the way we are using technology is also with respect to cooking automation. So Rebel Foods has developed a walkie, which basically cooks, which is basically an automated cooking process for Asian cuisine. So, for example, we can cook, Hakka noodles without minimal human intervention. So technology plays an very, very important role to ensure hygiene across. So world over, we have 400 cloud kitchens across these 8 countries. So with the help of technology, we're ensuring hygiene across this network.
Thank you, Ajay. Ashish, what technological demands are you facing from your clients in the cloud kitchen industry, related mainly to hygiene? But if you have anything else that you think would make more, should be highlighted.
I mean, often on the points which Ajay made, I think these are the things which organically are, being asked by other kitchen operators, as well. And though in all honesty, I see that very few are really able to implement it, very, very well, because, what Ajay is talking about needs a very high intent in the organization and persistence, right? So kudos to, Rebel for doing that. But, one of the things that, we can clearly see is that, suddenly the customer reviews have become, very, very important for that cloud kitchen, right? So, the way we are talking about, and hygiene is something which is non-negotiable now, because one bad incident and you're gone, because customer one has too many choices on the digital platform. Two, last thing you want is that you want your customer to operate in mistrust, right? So one thing which is led to which got accelerated again, because of COVID, is that suddenly people started trusting brands on digital platforms more, but at the same time they started also looking at more established brands, and they started only ordering from places where they already know somehow that, okay, they will be taking care of hygiene, and hygiene has become probably the topmost reason, consciously and subconsciously both. That's why suddenly brands like Domino's and Papa John's in the US, and they all suddenly start getting a lot of business. People were confused, but they were getting business purely because customer could believe that they are more hygienic. The way we are, what we are getting is we actually dive into more operation side of the restaurant business. But what we are helping restaurants do is audits. Audit. I mean, we have seen a massive rise in how many audits a certain kitchen wants to do for how many categories. I mean, those were almost non-existent, before, even with the topmost, and they were existent probably in the physical checkbox sort of world, but it was not being driven through technology. We've also seen things like people now want us to. I mean, we recently developed a full feature set where people wanted to relate a certain customer review with exact time of preparation of that item, and they wanted to relate it back to their CCTV footage, because they wanted to make sure that in case there is a wrong incident, because they are serving 1,000 items in a day, they cannot penalize their chef for all 1,000 items. So if there are 2 incidents, they want to pinpoint on those 2 incidents, and because kitchens are operating for longer hours, they want to make sure which shift, which station, what chef, or what who packaged it. So things like that are happening, and we are continuously aiding that. Apart from the regular stuff last year, where delivery boys, their temperature was marked, and a couple of those checks which I think eventually aggregators also picked on. They started synchronizing with players like us, so that has become quite obvious and seamless. So within kitchen, I think I see this trend is going to grow. We've also seen crazy cases where there was a pizza kitchen who shared the live feed of their kitchen with the customers. Yeah, so that was quite a I don't know if it was an overreaction or what, but I felt that customers at the end are not interested in looking at your kitchen also. That's not very appetizing, let's say. But at the same time, I think hygiene is actually at the core of what a brand is trying to position themselves for.
Very interesting points that you made, Ashish, because I like the idea of actually backtracking and trying to understand what could have gone wrong at what point in the process. So very interesting aspect, as well as, of course, transparency. It is very, very important today for facilities to, across the board, I'm not only talking about food service, but right now, but everything else, to showcase what they are doing in terms of hygiene and what they are doing in terms of cleaning in their facilities.
Yeah, but one comment, if you allow, I'll make, is that I think apart from having hygiene practices and doing more on cleanliness, at the back. I think COVID has accelerated this idea that people who are doing, stuff around this, they should also feed back into their marketing. It's time to also show and tell the customers that what practices are you doing. My recent experience with ITC in India was phenomenal, right? They basically started this We Assure. How to say that, right? So they basically, all the hygiene practices which they implemented across ITC hotels, they made a list of it. They put a new logo of We Assure on that. And in ITC hotels, and at least the luxury collection hotels, they dedicated a room and they call it the Be Assure Museum or something, wherein they started taking every guest on a 10-minute tour, talking about what all are they doing to ensure hygiene practices. And though one can feel that it's all gimmicky, etc., but the fact is that subconsciously it had such an impact on my mind that for last 7 months, whenever anybody in my family or friends have thought of going out to a commercial, not a homestay, but let's say a hotel, I told them, can you just make sure that you stick to ITC? So and that works. So yeah.
Very nice example. I'm sure Mr. George and Isha are going to agree with me. We all three of us come from the cleaning industry. They've obviously had way more experience than me. But the last 2 years has seen the cleaning industry reach another level altogether. While we've also been going back to the basics, we're also now in the spotlight. Everyone wants to know what has to be done. Everyone wants to know what are the latest products and what are the best solutions to tackle something like this. So, what ITC did is just an example to showcase how now when you had cleaners at the back, they were cleaning at night, or they were, not to be seen. Now everyone wants to be seen because they want to assure the customer that, this is what we're doing. This is how we are going to keep your environment safe. Which brings me to the next point. This one is addressing Mr. George and Isha together. What are the specific hygiene areas that cloud kitchens, number one, given, like you said, they're 24/7 constant on the feet operations. And also the fact that, in what Mr. George said, in areas that may not necessarily be suited to a cloud kitchen, what are the specific hygiene areas of concern today for cloud kitchens in the region? Mr. George, you can start, and then Isha, maybe you can take it from there.
Right, as we discussed before, because of, again, the sudden surge in demand, most of the cloud kitchens, I think it's slightly overcrowded in the region. I don't know how about in India. So the space perhaps is not adequate for, the number of people who are working there. That's what, some of the cloud kitchens that I have visited. And even my own understanding is that, since if you look at the license for the operation, this comes as normal catering services or food supply. So basically, it's also probably time that the regulatory authorities, they need to pay a little more attention and see how they can play a role in trying to differentiate cloud kitchen from the traditional central kitchens or catering companies, their kitchens, because they were more planned, and the space allocated, because there are certain guidelines, that the minimum requirement for a kitchen is so much of space, but then when it comes to the number of people operating, I've not seen something that is mentioned there. So the issues of hygiene, it also emanates from those crowded places, areas, as we said earlier, about lack of the correct infrastructure, sometimes the equipment, and also, like when we're talking about cloud kitchen, as the previous speakers were saying, there are different models of cloud kitchen. So you're talking about one where they operate for multiple brands for third parties, and the other one is they operate only for themselves. And then you have got the third one where they just rent space. So especially with people who rent space, they are more like workstations. They've got just work areas. It may be just a small table. I mean, if you're supplying just sandwiches, what probably you end up with is maybe about 140 by 70 kind of table, and then a sink, and maybe that sink is not very close to your table, it's a little far away, and then other infrastructure that you need, like as I was mentioning about grease traps, it may not be there. I've seen like one of the cloud kitchens, the facility was earlier a supermarket, so they converted that, and almost 30 stations are there, and they have just a couple of small grease traps, which is not adequate. So what they're going to face is they will have clogging, they will have overflow, which again, even with technology, like it's good that Ashish and Anil were saying that, there are some of these restaurants, they live stream. The reason for that live streaming is, they want people to see that, we got the correct infrastructure. If that's not the case, I mean, it's also one way of brand building, because if I can see a kitchen, see some of these restaurants, when we see that the cooking happens in front of us, we are more confident about the food. I mean, forget about the flavor, that only when you eat or when you experience, you can say. But other part, especially with hygiene, because with food and hygiene, they go hand in hand. I mean, nobody wants to have food without proper hygiene. So the challenges are, as I mentioned, regulatory intervention is required again, required in the sense that they need to differentiate between traditional kitchens and cloud kitchens. Maybe, they have to come out with more specifications. This is the kind of space that's required for a brand or a person or per person. Like now here, the labor accommodations, they have implemented the ILO guidelines of X square meter or X square feet per person. So probably they need to come with, something like that, so that there is, and then the second aspect I would say is control, because when you only rent space and that's your business, then you don't want to walk into somebody's business, because you think that the preparation of food is somebody else's business, and then you don't want to go on telling how he should maintain control his business and hygiene. So that is also another part, because some of these people, they don't want to go and over control or even control. So I think there has to be. The third is, again, as the industry is in infancy, the organizational structure is missing. You may have a large operation and still you probably may not have a head of maintenance or QHSE officer. So positions have been not properly defined, because it's just evolving. So as it evolves, people will probably understand, and all of them, they're not probably from, the entrepreneurs are not from the same industry. I know one of the owners of the cloud kitchen, he comes from a totally different industry. Of course, he has got a team, but it's going to be a little bit of learning by experience. And then as you learn, you implement things that you think is required. So there is, I mean, they're not getting the time that they need to plan. So what happens is probably the owner himself, you may have a setup with 400 people, and yet it will be probably the owner who is involved into the specific functions, and so that's also a challenge for them.
Thank you, Mr. George. Isha?
Yes, some amazing points made by Mr. George. The way Talk looks at it, and in our experience with working with many of our customers and end users, is that we see that we break it down into simple 4 steps: secure kitchen and hand hygiene. Regardless of the cuisine, regardless of the type of operation, certain basic steps always help securing your basic hygiene, which is stocked dispensers, attention to surface hygiene, color coding, and these basic tasks would be, something that can elevate your basic hygiene. Then securing takeout bags. Now, this is something that we sometimes don't really pay much attention to as a consumer, as a restaurant operator, but the consumer pays attention, because you want them to have faith that these takeout bags are not tampered with, but till they reach their destination. And then securing pickup areas as well. So having a well-placed dispenser, sanitizers and masks and other hygiene equipment at pickup areas is also very important, because that then takes it to the next level. And then of course, securing your delivery with your delivery partners. But one thing, which is common across all of these steps is the onus of it falls on the individual within these, who's doing these tasks with the kitchen employees. Now, like Mr. George said, this is an evolving industry, so the knowledge base would be fairly limited. That's why choosing the right partners who you work with as your suppliers, with as hygiene consultants or your cleaning suppliers, is also a very important part, and often overlooked as a minor task. Soft services is often overlooked. So paying attention to who you work with, because as talk we provide consultative approaches because we're training and we're learning together with our customers. And with an evolving industry, which hygiene and food, like Mr. George says, go hand in hand, it's very important to choose the right tool and fit for purpose products to maintain your kitchen environment and your hygiene. And we always help, and training cues and visual cues, all of these to support the products is very important, to keep reminding kitchen staff throughout the day, either through technology, like Mr. Ajay says, monitoring or live streaming, and just keeping that at the top of the user's mind, that hygiene is my most important task throughout the day, and having products that encourage the users to use it. So skincare throughout the kitchen, like odor control soaps that make it which don't dry out your hands, because a lot of people don't wash their hands as often because they think the soaps are drying my hands, or the sanitizer doesn't really feel very comfortable. So choosing the right products to encourage your employees to adhere to these hygiene practices is essential. Yeah.
Thank you, Isha. Very, very well said. We have a couple of questions. We're almost at the end of our discussion, like most of our discussions, because this is something that we've focused on for the very first time on such a large forum. We are just touching the tip of the iceberg when it comes to hygiene in cloud kitchens, but I'm sure this is going to open up a lot more conversations. Coming back to the discussion, there are a couple of questions. They're mainly for Ajay, but I welcome all of you to comment on them if you all would like to. I'm going to combine two questions. So Sharif Ahmad asks, is allergen management a concern for cloud kitchens? Number one. And another person, Teklal Mahato, says, what is the role of ingredient quality, especially vegetables and meats, in terms of hygiene in cloud kitchens, other than people hygiene? Would you like me to repeat?
If you can repeat the second question, the latter question.
The second one was, what is the role of ingredient quality in terms of vegetables and meat when it comes to hygiene, food hygiene or food safety? That's what he wants to know.
Good, thanks. So talking about the first question, so are the cloud kitchens taking care of allergen? So yes. So when as a cloud kitchen operator, we are operating, as I mentioned, like 15 brands, and one of our brands, which wherein it matters the most, is our health brand. It's called the 500 Calorie Project, wherein the consumers which are ordering from this brand are more sensitive to specific type of allergens, specific type of nuts. So yes, so we have to take utmost care in terms of ensuring that if we have a couple of products which are vegan, couple of products which are gluten free, so we have to ensure that these products are prepared in isolation with the other products which are for example a biryani, for example a hakka noodles, for example kung pao sauce. So all the other products wherein these allergens go, so we have to take utmost care for especially for such products. In terms of second question, so yes, so a lot of our kitchens, so we're working with in the UAE, we're working with the best of the brands, Fit Fresh, Barakat, to ensure good quality of vegetables. We use, we're working with them on a daily basis for vegetables. We're working with a couple of suppliers for our raw meats as well. So we have to take care of quality in the in procuring these ingredients. Yes, and then we're also working directly with the quality teams at FitFresh and Barakat, wherein we take based on their random checks at frequent intervals. We take that information. Our quality team uses that information to ensure that all the ingredients that we're procuring, from all the raw ingredients that we're procuring, like vegetables and raw meats, are satisfying a particular quality level.
Thank you, Ajay. Ashish, I'm just going to ask you, is there any kind of technology that you provide to cloud kitchens that helps them understand, where the meat has gone bad, or any kind of thing, or in terms of the temperature control of the storage of these kind of ingredients? You're on mute, Ashish. No problem.
No, not really. We don't provide any such technology directly, but there are a lot of possibilities that are erupting. For example, Ajay talked about having those automatic book or having equipments which are becoming smarter, right? So most of these are now we are now getting the possibilities of integrating these units back to our back to the POS, where actually the ordering happens, right? So but these are I will not really say that these are remote possibilities. The problem with these is that there is no standard, right? For example, Rebel might have made their own control system or their own product, right? So unless there is a larger consumer wave around it, it won't be possible. But on the allergens side, I'll tell you what what we are doing. For example, we already interface with a lot of data providers across the world who who at the recipe level talk about when you create the menu, they will actually pinpoint that what menu item has what allergen that needs to be mentioned. And we also have databases of alternatives, which also helps chef on the fly. Again, I will say that very few use it because we have largely three types of customers. One is the standard Western chains who have a set menu. There is not much that is possible. And then there's a lower segment who is not really interested in educating about allergens more proactively. And then there's this middle tier, which is mostly fine dines, which fortunately are now getting into deliveries as well. So they use that actively.
But yeah, as Ashish mentioned, so so one of the reinforces which helps us maintain quality is the CCTV audit. So for example, you can pinpoint a particular order. If there is a feedback from the consumer, you can go back to the kitchen and look at the footage and ensure and find out the root cause and ensure that that particular thing doesn't happen again. So their technology and the CCTV audits help play a role in maintaining a particular quality level.
Shanti, if I may add some great points from Ashish and Ajay. And I think one thing that I briefly mentioned before for allergens and food hygiene is color coding. I think that is very underrated, and color coding your kitchens. And so that, like Ajay said, you don't mix certain dishes. Like if you're sort of preparing a fresh salad and as well as some meat, obviously they need to be taken care of and prepped differently. So using different codes with the surface wiping products, with your cutting boards, with your other such utensils that you use, if they are color coded well and supported by good surface wiping, I think really elevates and helps you manage your allergens and cross-contamination, because cross-contamination is the leading cause of all food-based illnesses. And salmonella and various other such very common illnesses can be managed well if, yes, with supportive technology, but also at the base of prep, the food prep, if it's color coded with the right color, would really help kitchens manage this food-based hygiene.
You're on mute, Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Isha. Very well pointed out. In fact, we have a lot of questions, which is nice. A question that came in is kind of related to what you were talking, Isha. You're talking about wipes being used to clean surfaces, color coding and all of that. Mr. Fabio Mariani asks, how do you manage chemicals in the cloud kitchens? So you're using chemicals to clean or wipe down surfaces and all of that. So is there some kind of, food safety measures that one should take when it comes to managing chemicals? I'm throwing it open to any of you. Any of you want to take it up? Please let me know. None?
Yeah.
Nobody? Ajay, would you like
Isha, you want to take it up?
Up to you. I
Sure.
would just add, yes.
Yeah, so when it comes to chemicals which are used to wipe the surfaces, wipe all the kitchen surfaces, cleaning chemicals, so they are we follow guidelines from from the respective authorities. So Dubai municipality has listed a couple of guidelines, how the chemicals should be how they should be stored, where they should be stored. There should be a separate, completely different section away from the dry storage, away from the chilled storage, away from the prep area. So we follow those guidelines to ensure that chemicals are stored away and kept and used properly for the kitchen hygiene. And there is a list of DM approved chemical suppliers. We have to use only those suppliers. Yeah.
Isha?
Yes, just to add on that, chemicals and cleaning products in general should be, what we pay attention to is food contact certification. Now, Essity deals with a lot of skincare and paper, so so we are like a complementary to the chemicals used in the kitchen. So the products that we recommend to kitchen environments are always food contact certified, and verifying these certifications and tying it in with your municipalities, local rules and regulations is essential. And that helps you manage your chemicals and your paper and your wiping well in kitchen environments.
Thanks, Isha. Mr. George, would you like to comment on any of this? Any comments from you in your experience?
I think as both Ashish and Isha said, all the chemicals that need to be used in the kitchens or restaurants, they're all food grade chemicals. They're all approved by Dubai municipality, and Dubai municipality has got a very, very stringent approval process. And any premium brands, they normally don't work with XYZ. They work with top class chemical suppliers who themselves have got their own systems, and they've got a good team of people. So I think that's probably one of the reasons actually you don't hear so many incidents, whether it is contamination or food poisoning. In fact, Dubai is really one of the best places where the controls are there, inspections are there, and I think things are taken very well.
Thank you.
I have a question, if I can. I'm just wondering, and I'm not very. I'm probably not. These are the things probably I'm blind to. So far is. Are these certifications being, how standard are these certifications? Isha, George, Ajay, whoever wants to, pick that. How and how is there a way to make this flaunt worthy for brands, which probably an aggregator can, let's say, also put in their listing, right? So let's say if an aggregator starts saying that, okay, this particular brand is XYZ certified and this particular brand is not, I think that is going to be a big behavioral change. The way ISO did, to so many areas of business. Is it happening? Is it not happening? Am I just blind to this, or?
No, definitely. Great question, Ashish. Just to give you an overview. So certifications are so when we certify our products, it's always through independent testing and independent global organizations. And that's where most leading suppliers, operate in. So it goes through rigorous testing, evaluation, or straight from the sourcing to R&D to production, and ISO, and you need your basic certifications, and then you have your elevated certifications. But from a kitchen hygiene environment. There are various global recognized systems like the HACCP certifications, and in India it's the FSSI. And there's so many that brands should be paying attention to and working with suppliers that can help them achieve those certifications. So using eco-label products, FSC products in terms of paper, and of course chemicals have their own various more stringent degrees of certifications. But yes, all of these help brands achieve those independent audited certifications. So yes, it is definitely a trend, and it is very independent. And I think more and more brands should pay attention to this within their kitchen environment.
I genuinely feel that this industry should, go and license with aggregators, because
No, Ashish, it's already done. So Zomato, for example, does whenever they launch a new restaurant or a new cloud kitchen, so it's primarily done from a restaurant perspective. So they would do. I mean, I'm talking about the UAE. I'm not sure about other geographies. So what they would do is do a general kitchen hygiene checklist, wherein chemicals are a part of that checklist too, along with other things like how the surfaces are we doing veg, non-veg, are we taking care of veg, non-veg, cross contamination, so all the other things, and wherein they publish that result for the consumers, which is very, very important, because then consumers get to know. Yeah, then consumers get to know whether a particular brand is good rated or is just an average brand. So that's a very good thing which is being done by Zomato. If other aggregators also pick it up, I think this would further educate the customers about the hygiene practices which are being followed in restaurants as well as in cloud kitchens.
Because in Singapore, I saw, have you seen that A, B, C, and D, category defined by the government?
Yeah, it's in Dubai also.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that people, flaunting that, because in Singapore, you can, like, from a roadside cart to a restaurant, you can, that A, B, or C, D, or, that's quite prominent, that's visible, that's out there. I haven't noticed that in UAE or Dubai. Maybe it's me, so that's okay.
I think you're focusing more on the food.
Quite possible. Or maybe I'm too blinded by the
I'm just, we're running out of time, but I'm just going to quickly take a question because it was also on our points of discussion. It's about transparency in delivery. So Sana Siddiqui asks, how do you ensure that the food prepared is safely delivered to the customer without temperature abuse and following the proper standards? And what is the operational transparency to your clients? I think we've spoken a little about operational transparency, but if we can talk a little about delivery in the next 5 minutes. Ajay, would you like to start?
Sure. So yes, so all the food which is prepared, so we do a double packaging of the product. First there is a brand packaging, which is in direct contact with the food, and which that packaging is sealed, and then there is, on top of that, there's a carry bag which is again sealed. So we use this double packaging to ensure that there is the food is not tampered with during the delivery. On top of that, because we're working with a lot of aggregators, and now aggregators have taken this up, wherein they ensure that the delivery is also contactless. So what I mean by that is, so whenever the food is being delivered to the customer's house or customer's office, so they would put the food in front of the door, and then the delivery boy will stand like 2 to 3 meters apart away from that delivery. So that's how we are ensuring that the food is tamper free during the delivery. The delivery boys, because just by the nature of their work, they are coming in contact with other delivery boys, they are coming in contact with a lot of delivery boys, security guards. So we have to ensure that there is minimal contact with the consumers. What we also started doing, that is not just for delivery but also for our kitchen chefs, is we publish, like on the bill copy of every order, we publish, okay, so what is the temperature of our entire kitchen team. And what Ashish said, we're also now drilling it down to the particular chef. So the chef who prepared food, what was the morning temperature of that chef, and we are giving this information to the consumer. You can access it on the bill copy, as well as you can access it on our website. So we are doing these measures to ensure transparency, and we are giving this information to give confidence to the consumer that all the practices, all the hygiene practices are being followed in the kitchens.
Thank you, Ajay. Any other comments from the panel on delivery?
Yeah, just to add on, amazing points made by Ajay, exactly what we should be seeing. And as a consumer, I would feel very comfortable when I would receive such a delivery. But we also should pay attention to your the hygiene articles that you send with your delivery. Now, it always helps a brand to include napkins, to include sanitizers, and to secure the delivery packages, irrespective of the type of cuisine they're ordering. So definitely securing the delivery package, sealing it, disposable containers, including branded napkins within each order also elevates the confidence of the consumer with the safety and security of that package. So that's another key pointer. And also maintaining your delivery pickup area with your delivery partners, your third party, whether Deliveroo, Zomato, etc. Sharing and requiring that they sanitize before they pick up, and having a sanitizer dispensing station at the pickup area is also supports the delivery, overall hygiene of that delivery package. So stocked, fit for purpose products really help elevating your delivery.
Thank you, Isha. On that note, I'm going to conclude the session. Thank you so much. I think this was a very, very interesting discussion. Like I said, just the tip of the iceberg. We've had so many questions. We've had so many people interested to know more about the cloud kitchen revolution that is taking over the Gulf. And I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about. I hope you all enjoyed the session. Thank you for all your insights. And I hope to work with you all again soon in the future. Thank you and have a very, very good day.
Thank you, Shanti.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.